WCIA 3 Plus. With Taylor Mitchell. This is Chat with the Chief.
As a daughter of a law enforcement officer, I know how important it is to connect with our community law enforcement leaders and the community. So with that, today I'm very excited because we are joined by Urbana Police Chief Larry Boone. Thanks for being here with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Very exciting getting to know you.
Sure.
This is actually, you said, your first time in the WCIA building.
That's correct.
What?
Yeah.
What is up with that?
I don't know. I can't come unless I'm invited.
That's true. So we are so excited that we get to be your first introduction into WCIA studio. So thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I know you're busy, so.
Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. I want to get into it with you. I want to talk a little bit more about your background in law enforcement.
Sure.
How long have you been in law enforcement for? Where did you start? Kind of bring me through your history.
So I never imagined that I would be in law enforcement, much less a two-time police chief. Growing up in the inner city of New Brunswick, New Jersey, having been incarcerated at least twice as a juvenile, law enforcement was something that I just did not see in my future. Now, to kind of give you an idea how I got here, I was a very good athlete, and when I got in trouble with law enforcement, my coaches approached my mother and asked if there was somewhere that she could send me so I would not become a statistic. And I moved south, to North Carolina with my grandparents, and there was different expectations there. Obviously, really different from what I was used to. There were certain structures that most kids embrace if it's in place. So I had to go to church, right? I had to reply to adults as yes, sir, no, ma'am, things of that nature. I had to do my homework. You get the gist. But through that structure, I was able to earn an athletic scholarship to Georgia Southern University, where I played football. These two rings on my finger represents two national championships, teams I were part of. Naturally, when you say national championship, people, the next question is, did you play for the NFL? Well, I tried out for the NFL, and as it would suit me, the NFL meant not for long. So I remember my senior year, we were playing James Madison, and I made a tackle on the sideline, and when I got up from the ground, I saw an African-American police officer. Now, this is going to sound strange to you. I had never seen one. And when I saw him, I said, wow, African-American policeman, that's odd. Never dawned on me that African-American was police officers, because in my upbringing in New Jersey, I never saw one. But the moment I saw him, I knew that's what I wanted to do if this professional football career didn't work out. So I remember applying for the Norfolk Police Department on one Saturday. Back then, everybody wanted to be in law enforcement. It was like 700 people applying for like 40 positions. And I said, there's no way in the world I'm going to get, this job. Well, obviously I did, right? And, in Norfolk, we like to call it one uniform, 40 opportunities, right? You can do multiple things, and I had an opportunity to serve in almost every capacity that department had to offer. And at some point, I started to take the promotional exam. I got promoted 7 times to rise to the level of chief. I became chief in 2016 and left Norfolk in 2022. And it was a ride.
Yeah.
You name it, in this profession, I've done it, experienced it, seen it. So that's a Reader's Digest of my background.
That is incredible. Okay, so let's go a little bit back to your childhood then. You said that you lived with your mom, and then you went to live with dad just
Sure.
to get back on the right track.
To live with my grandparents, my father's
Grandparents,
parents, just to get back on the right track. Yeah, I always say to kids, most kids want to do the right thing. And this is going to sound corny, but it's so true. The me I see is the me I'll be. Right?
Yes.
So growing up, there's an article, I'll never forget it. When I first became chief in Norfolk in 2016, the reporter there interviewed him. And then I'm sharing my story just like I'm sharing it with you right now. So the next day, the headline is, and this is still online, new Norfolk chief would arrest folks that he thought was his heroes who were drug dealers.
Whoa, yeah,
So,
that's a good one.
Yeah, so that's that was the eye catcher. The big
Right.
front page, my big head on the front page, and it says my heroes were drug dealers, but now I would arrest them, right? Because I got a different perspective. So I have a very, very colorful career as a policeman, as a police chief, as an African American. I've been in the thrust of police reform. I've been recognized locally, nationally, internationally for some of the decisions I've made and some of the activities I've been a part of. So, but I would always say this, this profession has been very good to me. It fit my personality, and again, I just never would have saw myself as a policeman, much less police chief.
Yes,
So,
that's an incredible position to work
Yeah.
up to. So when did you know that your football career was over? I'm very interested in learning more about that,
so
too.
in high school, in most high schoolers, football players at least, you play both ways, defense and offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was a linebacker on defense, and on offense, I was a running back, right? And one day in practice, I was running the ball, and my foot got stuck in a hole or something. Anyway, I tore my ACL. And back then, the technology in terms of medical technology wasn't as astute as it is now. So I had surgery, but the physician told me you just have some minor cartilage tear. You'll be fine. Went back, tried to run the football. Anytime I would plant, I would just buckle. And I said, something is off. Mm-hmm. So I gave up the idea of being a running back, and I just concentrated on being a linebacker. The interesting thing about the human body, when you injure certain parts of it, the body finds ways to compensate. So the ACL is the only ligament that has a blood supply. So when it tore, because my knee was no longer stable, every time it moved, it developed arthritis. And over time, that arthritis serves as your ACL. My knee stopped buckling. So I thought I was fine until I had a physical for at the time, St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the NFL, they're going to check you from head to toe.
Right.
And I remember the physician looking at my knee, and he did this, what they call a point test. And I'll never forget this gentleman. He had those type of glasses on that make your eyes bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he looked up at me and said, "Young man, have you ever injured this knee?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What did you do to it?" And I told him what I was told, the cartilage damage. So they did an MRI. He said, "Young man, you have a ruptured ACL." I didn't even know what an ACL was. He said, "How in the hell did you play collegiate football with one leg?" And to me, I never thought about that, but I did know my mindset. I just have a can-do mindset, and I just don't make excuses. So I found a way to play. I knew that I worked my injured leg in terms of making it stronger so much that it was like 2 inches thicker than my right leg. So the extra muscle, right, and tendon strength helped support that leg as well. But then I was cut because I was damaged goods. So that's kind of how my next career, started.
So did that injury at all affect you as a police officer?
Not one bit.
Really?
Yeah, you would never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that you probably could have continued with the
Had
football
I
career?
been, there's no doubt in my mind. I would sound a little
You would have made it work.
Had I been 100% healthy.
Right.
Okay, I would have retired one day as an NFL player. That's what I think, at least.
Now, do you have any kids?
I have two kids, yes. I have 2 daughters, and well, let me correct that. They were born, okay. I have a son that's a transgender, okay, and he's the bravest person I know. Okay,
Definitely.
he lives in Richmond, right?
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Very
He
cool.
graduated from VCU, and he's working on his next plight in life. He wants to be in the movies and things of that nature. Then I have a younger daughter that lives in Virginia, and she's attending Old Dominion University. So
It's incredible.
Yeah,
We were talking about, side note, I have a lot of family from Richmond, so we were connecting a little bit on Virginia. So very cool. I love. Well,
Sure.
so your kids, are they both in college still? Is that what you said?
No, my son is out of school.
Out of school.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very
He's
cool.
out of school, and he's in all kinds of things. So hopefully he'll stick the landing and find his niche. But I'm very proud of him.
Very
proud of both of them.
Yes, absolutely. That is very exciting. Okay, so talking a little bit about your transition over to Urbana, like I said, you have lots and lots of experience, especially as being chief of police not once, but now twice.
Sure.
So tell me what things you maybe learned as chief of police in Norfolk that you brought over to Urbana.
Well, good question. I will tell you about the very first staff meeting I had. Now, they're going to hate that I'm saying this because every time I tell this story, I can see them rolling their eyes. Now, my staff, I have a great staff, awesome staff. Great. So my first crime meeting, I said, all right, what's the process? Let's see the data. And they kind of looked at each other, and I said, where's your data? Well, we have data, Chief, but we don't do it the way you do. So I said, okay, well, we got to figure this out. So the very next meeting we had, my crime analyst, Melissa Hinderin, love her to death. She called my crime analyst back in Norfolk. She said, hey, we have your old chief. What kind of crime process did you guys do back there? Because he's trying to implement it right here in Urbana. Next meeting we had, she gave me a document that I recognized right away. Same document you showed earlier. I said, where'd you get this? And she just kind of smirked. She said, I did some research. And once we started understanding how we work through the lens of data, right, we're able to make those connections, as I highlighted earlier, regarding domestic violence with Courage Connection, building those actionable partnerships, deploying our limited resources where they need to go based on data rather than anecdotal historical mindsets, because you tend to make mistakes when you start making assumptions just based on anecdotal context. So that's one of the things. The other thing is community engagement. Okay, I always tell my troops, okay, there's 2 prongs in law enforcement. You have the nuts and bolts, i.e. basic law enforcement. We do that great. We do that great out of the police academy because that's what we're taught. The other part, community engagement, not so well. Okay, you have to be taught that, and you have to be taught that by someone that knows how it's done. In Norfolk, I implemented well over 20 community engagement programs that address folks from ages of 5 years old to senior citizens. So we were recognized in Norfolk for our community engagement programs, and some of those I'm trying to introduce here, right here in Urbana. One of them that is off and running, that has been for at least a year, is Clergy Patrol. The clergy have an opportunity to ride with our patrolmen so they get an idea what they go through during the course of their shifts. And at the same time, when the scene is safe, 9 times out of 10, if a pastor is with our officers and we go to a scene, they're going to recognize perhaps a victim or a suspect, okay, and have an opportunity to provide counsel or prayer, whatever the case may be. That's just one of many things we're trying to implement here in Urbana. I told you about the community engagement team we're trying to implement with 1 community engagement sergeant and 2 community engagement officers who will intersect with a particular community to address some of their resource challenges and kind of, surgically reduce their quality of life to a point where they feel part of the community, right? Right now, there's folks living in certain sections of Urbana. Their quality of life is not where it needs to be. And I think law enforcement, being the first responders, see a lot of this far more often than other folks. So when we say reduce their quality of life, I'm actually saying increase their quality of life. Because right now, their quality of life have been reduced to the point that they don't have opportunities as others. So
Definitely.
yeah, I don't like to say, they're at risk. Right, you hear that all the time, at-risk population. I like to say at-opportunity population, because there's opportunity for everybody to get involved.
Awesome. Well, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about the crime statistics and learn a little bit more about what the Urbana Police Department is doing. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are continuing our conversation with the Urbana Police Chief, Larry Boone. Again, thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I want to talk a little bit about, you were talking to us about, community engagement and how you think it's important to, connect the two. Talk about this community substation you guys are building.
So one of the things I recognize through our data collection process was that throughout the years, one of the things we noticed was that crime in a particular area of the city of Urbana was consistent. It did not change. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, etc. So just based on sheer police philosophy, we saw that we needed to stretch ourselves into that community so that we can provide resources that they may be lacking. So we thought of the idea of a community engagement office. Some folks call it, community substation. I think that's probably what we're going to call it. I don't like calling it field house or field station or substation because it has a negative connotations here. And one of the things I've learned very quickly here in Urbana, people feel a certain kind of way about paramilitary terms. So we picked the Philo Road area because of the data said that that's where we need to be. We're currently looking at 2 locations. I don't want to give that information out just yet, but the idea, we'll have our community engagement team housed there. We'll have our clergy patrol team housed there. We'll have our mental health CCRT team housed there. We'll have whatever community partnership we develop, whether it's Dream, whether it's Courage Connection, or someone else housed there as well, because again, this is a community substation. It will be shared by the community as well as law enforcement. And this is not a place where we will be taking people to jail. It's nothing like this. This is strictly an opportunity for police and community to connect, to make our lives better, okay? Because when the community lives are better, our lives are better. Cost for service is reduced. There's an appreciation for law enforcement because we've been very transparent in what we're doing. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity. It's an exciting time for Urbana. We're about to promote 2. We've just promoted one of the Deputy Chief Zachary Mikulik, very handsome young man who's very centered in the community. He's from Urbana. His kids go to school here in Urbana, so he gets it. I will be promoting one other deputy chief, don't know who that is just yet, as well as 2 lieutenants and anywhere between 5 to 6 sergeants. This is a historical pivoted moment for Urbana Police Department because we've never made that many promotions in one time. So the word I was looking for was pivotal. Yeah. So I think as a police chief, it's an opportunity for you to shape the culture of the police department. And I know they kind of have an idea of my mindset because you always know as a leader when you hear your troops using your phrases. You know, I have a phrase, walk in your authority. And they're starting to use little my phrases here and there. So you know you're starting to have an impact. So
That's
exciting times.
Yes, lots of great things
Yes.
happening at the Urbana Police Department. Well, we are going to take one more break, and when we come back, we're going to have final thoughts with Chief Boone. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Final thoughts with Chief Larry Boone. I want to talk a little bit about just some of the different things going on at the Urbana Police Department. When you took this position, you saw a little bit of higher domestic violence statistics than you would like. So what are you guys kind of doing to decrease that?
So one of the things we noticed in the increase of domestic violence, I was new to the area, so I said, is there a nonprofit, okay, or for-profit for that matter, that also has a role in domestic violence and reducing domestic violence? And my team pointed me to Courage Connection as a possible partner, and what that looked like was we actually met my command staff with Courage Connections command staff, and we started sharing our data with them. And one of the things that concerned me was we had certain locations that we were going to multiple times. That's never good. When you have officers going to certain locations 5 to 7 times a month, something's going to happen sooner or later. Carriage Connection took that data and they became, I guess, more proactive, because whatever they've done, they get all the credit. We've seen a reduction in domestic violence. We are in the process of building out I call it the machinery, where the health department, the community, as well as the law enforcement community could address overdoses, okay, from a position of prevention, i.e. we educate those that aren't involved yet, to intervention if you are involved, providing help, and lastly, enforcement, because somebody is providing that opportunity for folks to use these drugs, and that's our role. So we have a collective, group that's going to be taking on this challenge. You'll hear about it as we start to develop it out more, and you'll start seeing me, or I shouldn't say me, we posting the data for Champaign County to see, not just Urbana. So
That's very good.
Yes.
Lots of exciting things happening. If you could get a message out to the public, or if there's one thing that you would like the public to know about your officers, what would that be?
I would say, without a doubt, they're the most compassionate group of officers that I've seen. And I don't say that tongue in cheek, because coming from a larger department, you just don't get to know your officers as intimately as you think. I see the difference. I know their names. I don't know everybody's name. And, when I was in Norfolk, I just didn't know everybody's name. I know my officers' names here. I know their families. I know their spirit, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. They're a really good group of people. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, okay? But when they make mistakes, it's a mistake of the head, not of the heart.
Of course.
Okay, and those type of mistakes we can work with. Okay, when you make mistakes of the heart, we can't work with you there. So, and I say that I've been served in internal affairs for 15 years, having disciplined officers, fired officers, sent officers to prison, and that doesn't happen a lot. Okay, I don't want anybody to think that happens a lot. For the most part, I don't care where your officers are from. Most folks get in this job to do good. We have some bad apples, just like other organizations, but I'm happy to say I love my officers, and I want to see them do well.
It's very exciting.
Sure.
We've got about 2 minutes left. Last question I want to ask you is, what motivates you? You've been in this position for a long time. You've seen a lot, I'm sure, and especially coming from a law enforcement daughter, I know, how hard it can be, just mentally, and, sometimes how you're treated. So what continues to motivate you to be in this position?
Thank you for asking me that. I started this interview off saying where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I didn't readily recognize law enforcement as doing good. I just didn't see it. Not saying they didn't, but I never experienced it, right? And what motivates me is being able to see it in real life and from a position of authority as the chief, and to see my troops go out here and do good. They do good every day. And I want them to recognize that I recognize their good work, but I also want them to recognize that the public do as well. And I want the public, okay, if you ask me what is something I want the public to know, I want the public to recognize when we do well, okay, with the same energy they do when we don't do well.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
That's something I would ask for the public.
Well, Chief Larry Boone, thank you so much for joining us here on Chat with the Chief. We really enjoyed getting to know you.
Thank you for having me. Been a pleasure.
Good. Well, you can catch another episode. I'm going to sit down with somebody new next week right here on the new WCIA Plus app.